Up next, we have Zach Wellhouse, and he'll be presenting Developing Information Literacy Continuing Education for K-12 Teachers.
Thank you. Is everything displaying properly?
Yes, we can see.
Wonderful. Wonderful, and hello. I am Zach Wellhouse, and today I'm discussing two online continuing education courses that I'm creating with Kelly McElroy, my partner who is unfortunately not able to be here today. Kelly is OSU's community outreach librarian, and we're doing this as a way that K-12 teachers can add information literacy to courses in an environment with few librarians. I'm an online learning librarian at Oregon State University. I teach information literacy through my liaison work with our eCampus and our College of Education. So when our Dean of the College of Education asked about creating materials about information literacy for teachers, Callie and I were ready. At least we thought we were. First, a little background. Since the early 1980s, when the state library began tracking the number of licensed teacher librarians in Oregon, they've dropped from a high of 819 FTE to 158 in the 2024 school year. And at the same time, the population of the state has continued to grow. Most students and classrooms in Oregon do not have access to a school librarian. So we're not trying to replace the work of teacher librarians, but we're trying to bridge a training gap. Our hope is that teachers will use these modules to inform and develop existing lesson plans. The modules will be available in two forms. The first is a free self-guided version available through Canvas Commons as under a Creative Commons license. And the second is a paid guided course that will provide 2.4 continuing education credits upon completion, focused on our Oregon environment. Our modules center on the Oregon Association of School Libraries, which are librarian written standards, but it also draws from other relevant frameworks. For example, one standard asks students to inquire, think critically, and gain knowledge. So our first module is centered on ways to promote critical thinking using specific tools as examples. We touch on Wikipedia, algorithmic bias in searching and other algorithms, especially AI, and research strategies for developing curiosity tempered with informed skepticism. We've learned from K-12 librarians, consultants at our state library, and other librarians in higher education who've spent years thinking about the bridge of information literacy from high school into college. Through these interviews, we've developed a list of resources that we hope to showcase in the course. Specifically, the shared databases and tutorials from the Oregon School Library Information System have been invaluable. Our primary audience for this course is the teachers who will be taking it, but we also need to be aware of their audiences, their students and their schools, which also includes their departments or their school boards in some cases, whoever has commentary or input on the curriculum. Acknowledging this relationship with schools is important to us since it's the lived context of what teachers do. As one example of this dynamic, our early research indicated the importance of a wide-scale adaptation of terminology across departments. So that way, every time students get a new infusion of information literacy instruction, they're not resetting to square one, learning a new method, learning a new term. However, the lived reality is that sometimes one teacher uses the SIFT method and another teacher will use a different nomenclature. So while unified terminology is valuable, it isn't always our top priority. Let's take a look at where we are in the process. So here's a look at the draft module of the middle and high school versions of Unit 3. At this point, teachers will already have worked through Unit 1, which focuses on inquiry and search, as well as Unit 2, which focuses on close reading and interpreting the source's formal elements. So now it's time to dig into the lateral reading and the synthesis of sources to create new knowledge. Each module is divided into learning objective clusters based on the guiding standards. Clusters contain text, sample assignments, and short videos. And in this module, we have three clusters, the first of which is shown on the screen. This cluster is about analyzing and comparing sources. Here we focus on how information sources engage with one another. So we'll invite questions like, is anyone else saying something similar? And why do you trust this source or whoever is saying this thing? In other words, it's using the SIFT method to encourage students to travel upstream and travel laterally in comparing sources. Next, in the second cluster, we look at information and knowledge creation as a process. We focus on several different tools for showing how sources can engage with one another, how to keep track of sources, and how to share evidence. Finally, in the final cluster for Module 3, we look at some hands-on examples with guidance of how to integrate similar synthesis exercises into group projects. Like all modules in this course, Unit 3 ends with a reflection exercise. The asynchronous continuing education edition also includes a message board and an assignment for the continuing education teacher students, which asks the teachers to examine their lesson plans for areas where materials covering the module could be helpful. That way it's engaging with work that the teachers are already doing and engaging with course materials. Our next steps are finishing a first draft of the middle and high school course and sharing it for feedback. As for lessons learned, the project has been giving plenty of hands-on experience with pre-college pedagogy, K-12 standards, and the different expectations in non-college environments. This has really challenged me and Kelly to expand our understanding of information literacy in an age-appropriate way, and at the same time, developing materials for an adult audience of professional educators who will then take the next step and repurpose this material for their students. This project has also deepened our practice for our existing teaching duties. For example, I manage our library's research how-to guides, which are Canvas modules that the OSU faculty can incorporate into any course shell. Any links that I make between the lessons from this project and the how-to guides can only help for future students at OSU. That said, our hope is that these modules will benefit anyone looking to add information literacy instruction to their K-12 courses. We will be looking for some early reviewers once we hit a milestone in our development, so please contact one of us if you would be interested. Thank you very much, and I think it's time for questions now, if these barking dogs will allow it.
Thank you so much, Zach, for your presentation. Are there any questions? You can unmute and ask or put it in the shared notes Google document. There's a question. You mentioned publishing your results. Any ideas where you're going to submit?
Not at this point. Our primary form of publishing will be sharing the results within our different networks of connections and saying here are the Canvas sites so that they're more usable resources. And anything in terms of article publishing we're going to wait and figure that out after we have the actual material to engage with.
Thank you. And Esther said, please send info about your results to the Lily list too.
Yeah, definitely, will do. Thank you for the request.
Are there any questions, other questions for Zach? And the LIRT listserv too.
Taking notes.
I had a question about how does your soft launch, how do you see that looking for the fall?
That's going to be the non-continuing education credit version. So it's just going to be the course materials shared on an online Canvas course. And at that point, we'll have shared it with our stakeholders internally and our connections in the state library. And if anyone talks about requesting information from this presentation, I already have 3 or 4 people and organizations from the comments. So we're just going to do a big announcement in an email, swing the doors open, and see what people think.
That's amazing. Wishing you all the best with this project.